Hey everyone, Joe Menza here. We're going to do a simple landscape painting, a little river here on the Strathmore 400 wire-bound watercolor paper. And I just want to show you, I'm going to use the large hake, and I'm just going to show you how you can use the bristles to very simply make a fast and loose type painting. I'm taking a little bit of ultramarine blue. I'm using Daniel Smith, the half pans. So it's kind of hard to dip the brush into, which is fine. I like the pigments and I like the colors, so I'm just going to go ahead and use that. And you can see I grabbed a little bit of red because the bristles are going outside of the half pans. But I'm just doing a little bit of a sky, grabbing a little bit of this. Well, I tried to grab a little bit of raw sienna type color, yellow ochre. A little bit dirty. I don't really wash the brush in between unless I'm going to a very light color. But the idea here is to just make a little background. And when you're setting the stage for a painting, you can think about how you want the background to look, what colors you want to have, sky color, etc., etc. And in this particular case, I'm thinking about just a little river stream type thing. And you can see how loose the bristles are on this brush. And I'm removing a little bit of paint to kind of carve out the river there. While it's still wet, this paper lifts pretty well. And that's it. The sky in the background is really just a background, since I'm going to have like foliage there. I'm not worried about making like real nice clouds or anything. It's just really some colors and some ideas back there. Now, a lot of times I'll mix a little bit of white. I'll throw a little bit of gouache on the brush and kind of lighten that up in the back. If you've watched any of my other videos, there was times when I put it in a little bit of a spray bottle and I called it Sky Fix. And I could use that to kind of lighten a sky if it's too strong, or to kind of blend it together if the brush strokes looked a little harsh. So I've dipped the large brush into some greens. There's like 3 greens on this palette. There's like ultramarine green and not ultramarine green, ultramarine blue. There's undersea green and a couple other greens. Most pre-made greens aren't that good, but Daniel Smith has some good colors. And I'm just going around and creating some grassy areas to kind of frame out the little river area. Just kind of clean that up a little bit right there. And see, I can go back in, I can lift a little more out of the sky, clean that up a little bit. Skies are a challenge, whether you've been painting, a long time or a short time. And I do find that adding a little bit of white does help for me. It works for me. You have to decide what works for you. You could watch 10 different artists, 10 different approaches. One of those ways might work out well for you for whatever reason. Or you might find a combination of things or something that aren't even, you haven't even really seen. And I just found that putting a little bit of white sometimes smooths that out. Now here I'm dipping into those greens again, and I'm just using the looseness of the brush just to create some foliage. Little tree to the left, little tree to the right, just to kind of frame it out composition-wise. This is just a quick little sitting on the couch. I've got a little, board on my coffee table, and just a quick one. And now see, coming in darker, I added a little Payne's gray to that. I might have even picked up a little burnt umber. But see how the bristles, they lean themselves toward making foliage, if you notice. And it's just by making the shape, that's all you really need to do. You don't have to try that hard. Like, you're not setting out to, hey, I'm going to paint a bush. I'm going to paint a tree. No, I'm going to paint the trunk of the tree a long shape. And then I'm going to dab these in because this looks like leaves. So it's really more of a magic show. And then things start to make sense, like the sky in the middle. Now, for me, I found, making a little bit of a river, sometimes it doesn't look as intended or as you intended. You could leave white for the water, and people will think it's a path, and some people will see it as water. I found, to end the confusion, is that I just use a watercolor, whether it be blue preferably, something to show that it's not a path. And I might mix a little bit of gouache with that to make it a lighter blue, or just to kind of smooth it out a little bit. And of course, it also works if you take the plastic card and you make rocks along the riverbank. It helps to sell that border. And here it is. I put my dirty mat on here just to kind of give myself an idea of where I'm at. And I find that this background here could be lightened up a little bit, could be cleaned up a little bit. I use a little bit of that Winsor Newton titanium white gouache. Now with that mat around there, it's kind of zooming you more toward the center. And then I'm just looking at off the distance, like, see where that curves out. So lighter and lighter to kind of draw you down that direction. And I accidentally got something there, so I just lift that out, clean it up a little bit. And of course, when you do the little rocks, make sure you anchor them. I'm still seeing people out there not anchoring their rocks in by putting some dark color underneath them. And now I'm just dragging a little of that across, and see, it could be mistaken for a path if you were intending a river. And I don't think anyone is ever going to mistake blue for a path. Of course, a few more rocks. And if you definitely want a path, you could put a person with a dog on the path. But see, that's what I'm looking at now, and I'm saying, this isn't going to... See, then you start adding a little bit. Take the fan brush, a little bit of blue. I think this is cerulean. Mix a little bit of white into that. I want to leave a little bit of paper for the water, just where the lightest area might be. I don't want it to look extremely blue. Your sky is typically the reflected sky on the water. When you look and water looks very blue, and you look up, the sky is most likely very, very blue. So just last little touch-ups here. Little darkening. Those little darks at the end are nice touches usually. Save the darkest darks for the end. And it'll really make things pop. Just a little bit of white toward the back there. See, and the little counter change there. Little dark foliage, little plant things into the light area. Makes for a nice contrast. See, and again, if you're doing little enhancements, not really fussing if they're little details. Fussing is really trying to fix things over and over. Sometimes there's not anything wrong with that. A little more scratching, a little more scraping with the card. And here is the finished product. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.